Liam Rooney covers Florida State for the Tallahassee Democrat. He'll be in Dublin for the game coming up, of course, on the 24th, which is coming up. This is the first week of the college football season, and a lot of people get involved the following week. Liam, you're on with Paul and Craig. David Smoke, we appreciate your time. Has this team basically been focused on what matters and has not been in any ways caught up in all the stuff about what might be the future in the ACC?
Yeah, absolutely. Any future ACC talks just don't seem to be impacting these guys at all. Coach Mike Novell has them very, very focused. You ask any of the guys, and it's just full steam ahead for Georgia Tech and what lies after that. It really doesn't seem like their future in the ACC or wherever it may lie has really impacted their preparation or thoughts about this season at all.
Liam, there's a lot of changes for this team. DJ Uiagalelei, takes over at quarterback, and while he'll probably be fine, it might be a dip from Jordan Travis. They don't have a Keon Coleman. They don't have a Johnny Wilson. Jaheim Bell was a nice pickup for them. Trey Benson is gone, but the offensive line is intact and deeper. Do you think that is what will get them through finding who they are as an offense in the first few weeks?
Absolutely. I think what they have in that offensive line room is versatility. A lot of those guys are able to move across and shuffle around the line, and it really gives a talented running back room that they have a chance to kind of find those creases and find those holes. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. That's what the consensus has been, is that the first few weeks that offensive line is really going to be leaned on because they have experience, they have the ability to kind of give you Uiagalelei time in the pocket, and if they're going to run the football, get a hole for those extra yardages that you're looking for. So I think they're going to be a big part, not just in the early season, but just throughout the year, and what Florida State's going to want to do. And I think you'll see early on that you could be seeing a heavy dose of the running game.
Liam, it seems like ever since DJ arrived, there's been nothing but positive headlines and just reactions, and his teammates, his coaches all seem to have a lot of praise for the guy. Can you just kind of explain how this transition has happened and what it's been like, throughout the spring and the past few months of him just kind of ingratiating himself?
Yeah, DJ came in around that December transfer portal or winter transfer portal time and came through the spring practices and really looked sharp during those practices. The spring game, I'm sure he'd admit to it too, was far from his best, but it was kind of one of those feeling out processes for him alongside a number of transfer players in their first experience in a game-like scenario for Florida State. But this fall, he's really taken a leap. He looks like the DJ Uiagalelei we saw in Corvallis at Oregon State last year. And I think for Florida State, that's huge. You kind of mentioned earlier, Jordan Travis is gone, and DJ is not Jordan Travis. They have some similarities, but they are vastly different quarterbacks, and especially when it comes to, Jordan's ability to move around in the pocket. So he has kind of learned how to adapt that offense to what his skill set is and what his strengths are, and I think that's probably been the most impressive thing to watch during this set of fall camp. And these last, I'd say, about 5 to 6 practices, we've really seen the best of what DJ Uiagalelei can do for this Florida State offense. And he's taken that leadership role that you want to see out of not just your quarterback, but a veteran star transfer. I even saw today he gifted his teammates all custom Beats headphones. So, he's doing his part to kind of win the trust and earn the trust of his teammates, not just on the field, but as well in the locker room.
Is it more fair to judge him? I mean, obviously the most recent is last year at Oregon State. Or how much do you have to judge him on what was a Clemson offense under Brandon Streeter that wound up changing offensive coordinators and has scuffled even since then?
I think you got to take both into account. I think obviously we have our most recent look at Oregon State in an offense that kind of catered to his skill set a little bit more. But, you can't look past Clemson, and especially when there's a lot of the similar opposition he's going to be facing now. But I think the situation here with Norvell and Alex Atkins and the way they like to run their offense, I think DJ will be more suited for something like he did at Oregon State last year. He seems to connect well with these wide receivers. He's fitting in much better than he did earlier in the spring, and it just seems to be the game is slowing down for him. So I think you got to look at what happened at Oregon State last year, but you have to consider what we saw at Clemson, because that is, again, such a big part of what makes DJ Uiagalelei as a college quarterback. So that game against Georgia Tech is really for him a chance to maybe prove some people wrong or just kind of silence some doubts about, what he can do. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Liam, every year a team is brand new, even if they have guys coming back or not. Every team is a new version of itself. You mentioned at the top that this team has not, let any of the ACC talk or any of that kind of seep in. How have they handled just the stuff from last year being brought up? What's that just sort of been like in terms of moving on from the snub? And do you feel like there's any lingering effects or any lingering hangover still sort of surrounding the program from what occurred a year ago?
I think, the biggest thing with the snub when you look at this year's team, and especially for those guys that were part of last year's group, it's a motivating factor for them. A lot of them still feel maybe they were wrong to be left out. They feel hard done by, all the natural feelings you would expect in that scenario. And they've kind of used that as fuel to provide a better performance this year from themselves and, just kind of lift that team spirit. But honestly, especially with so many transfers coming in to make up this offense and this defense, there's not too much being said about it. I think start of the year, they kind of had their moments where like, hey, this is our first action since that happened, since that Georgia game. But now with Georgia Tech on the horizon and what is going to be a long season ahead of them, they kind of pushed it in the rear view. And I think, it'll be something they'll probably talk about internally, maybe to motivate the group, but it really hasn't been much of a factor. It's almost, for better or worse, the tunnel vision on the season. They're not trying to have any outside noise or distractions kind of seep in. And so far, it seems like it's worked for Norvell and his coaching staff. And, when asked about it, they don't really talk much about it anymore. It just kind of seems like, it happened. We took it on the chin. We're here now, and it's a different team. And I think that's kind of what they've been pushing.
All right. So you're going to Dublin, right?
Yes.
The team leaves Wednesday evening or whenever it is on Wednesday. Then, of course, the game is on Saturday morning, 11 o'clock Central Time here in Texas on ESPN. Mm-hmm. Have you been to Ireland before? And I was told, somebody told me you might have dual citizenship. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, I am a dual citizen. My parents are from Ireland, so I through their citizenship program, I'm a dual citizen. So I've been to Ireland a number of times, and it's great. It's a great country. Dublin's a great city, and it's really cool to have the two worlds kind of combined. To see Florida State, the team I cover for my job, playing in the city that I spent a lot of time in. So it's pretty cool. And now with game week here, a lot of the guys are finally on the team, finally like, oh man, we're playing football, but in another country, and it's pretty surreal.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that with a name like Liam Rooney.
Well, if I said my middle name, it would have been a dead giveaway. So there's that. So
Liam, this is a defense under Adam Fuller that was elite last year, to say the least. Now, losing Braden Fisk and Jared Verse not going to help you stay elite, but they seem to have replaced that, although are they maybe lacking some of the depth up front that they have? It feels to me like they might be better at linebacker, but a little less deep, even though skilled on the defensive line.
Defensive line, some of these freshmen and redshirt freshmen who, they were part of the program last year have really come into camp and shown a lot of good stuff. A guy in particular, KJ Sampson, another young guy, Daniel Lyons, they've been really impressive on that defensive front. And they could add that depth. The thing you look at with them, kind of to your point of a lack of depth, is experience. In-game experience obviously wasn't, they weren't playing as much last season as you would expect, but with guys like Patrick Payton, the duo of Joshua Farmer and Darrell Jackson, who will get that full season now, and the transfer of Marvin Jones Jr., I think that front four gives them something similar to what they had last year. But you do have some rotational questions that will have to be answered. I think it's just not a lack of talent, more just it takes a while to get up to speed in this sport, and just how quickly can these guys in the heat of battle, kind of adjust to the style of play and the quickness and physicality of it. But I think as the season goes along, that depth will grow stronger simply because of the experience that some of those younger guys are going to have.
We know Haynes King incredibly well. His father's amazing state championship resume in high school at Longview.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, he went to A&M. That's where he committed. It didn't work out there. And he has been very productive at Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
He threw a lot of picks last year. What is Florida State? What are they thinking about when they have to try to handle Haynes King this weekend?
Yeah, well, the big thing with Haynes is, he's also able to make plays with his legs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that they haven't overlooked. It's definitely something that they want to prepare for. But trying to limit the speed of the steal positions to make it harder for Haynes to go through his reads has been a big thing. They have a lot of speed at that receiver position and in the running back room. So, you want to give your defensive line time to get to Haynes King, have those linebackers, be able to spy or keep up with him if needed when he gets out of the pocket. So I think that's the big thing is, give the defensive line time to work through that offensive line of Georgia Tech and put pressure on Haynes. And, he is a fantastic quarterback. And like you said, though, the one thing that maybe they want to look at is he did force a couple passes that led to turnovers. And maybe that's the thought process. If we can put him under pressure, we might be able to, utilize these defensive backs that are very, very good for Florida State. And maybe they'll be able to get a couple interceptions. But I think the big thing is just allowing the defensive line time to kind of make him make a quick decision.
Liam, how much of practice do you guys get to watch? It feels, following along with the Tallahassee media's tweets, that you guys get to watch like almost full practices where most media get to see stretching.
Yeah, we get pretty much the full practices. We're able to view a large portion of it. We have our periods where we're able to shoot video, take notes and all that, and then others are just strictly viewing periods. But we get a good amount of access, especially compared to other, Power 5 programs where I have buddies and friends who cover other Power 5 programs. And, they tell me about, like you said, you get stretching and maybe the first 5 minutes of drills, and then you kind of have to stick out and wait for press conferences. So we do get a good deal of access, which helps out, obviously, when you're trying to look ahead at what this team can be.
One more thing about Ireland. What is the difference in McDonald's in Ireland compared to the United States? I saw where the media scrum, you tried to give some people some knowledge.
So it's the chicken and the meat is just so much fresher. Ireland, big in farmland, big in farms. So they really just use like straight from up the road, really.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh chicken, fresh meat, and you can really taste that difference. The question was funny about, what we're looking forward to and the food, and Malik Benson straight away to McDonald's. I caught everybody off guard. So he's got a point. It does taste different, but I told everybody they have to bring me their report back and see what they think about the differences over there versus here. It's
cool as heck that you now are assigned with the Tallahassee Democrat to cover FSU, and they're playing that opening game against Georgia Tech this weekend in Ireland, where you have a lot of connections. Thanks a lot, Liam. Great stuff today. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Liam Rooney with us, a Tallahassee Democrat.